Many people struggle with digestive issues, and it seems like it's a larger and growing concern. So if you're one of them, first, I will not tell a soul, but also you might find this video interesting because today we're going to discuss 3 herbs that help digestion. So stay tuned. Welcome to True Freedom Permaculture, where we discuss natural living and how to have a green thumb even if you weren't born with one. A bellyache is not a bellyache is not a bellyache. But what do I mean by that? Well, it's important to try to discern what the cause of your indigestion is. So for example, sometimes it could be to some sort of like food or drink that you consumed. Sometimes your gut lining could just be irritated due to various reasons that we'll talk about later. Sometimes it could be due to gas. And so, these are just some examples, but my point is that when selecting which herb to use, you want to make sure that it's appropriate for whatever you have going on. The first herb that I'm going to discuss today is fennel. And fennel seeds, these are something where, my bag of fennel seeds, these have been used for a very, very long time to aid in digestion. So people would just chew these. And in fact, if you've ever been to India or perhaps even in an Indian restaurant in another country, you might see that there's like a little dish and it has a tiny spoon in it filled with fennel seeds, and sometimes some of them are candied, like pale blue or pale pink. That's what I'm thinking of. That's what comes to mind. Maybe pale yellow too, kind of mixed in. But these are meant to be taken like a small teaspoon or so after a meal, and you just chew them. And they're a carminative, and carminatives help to expel gas from the body, and some of them actually help to decrease the production of gas in the stomach and intestines. So fennel is largely known as a digestive aid. Now, if you don't like the taste of black licorice because it does have like an anise flavor to it, you're going to have to decide whether or not the benefits outweigh your palate. I wanted to give you an up-close look at this. Kind of yellowish green, varies a little bit in color, can be kind of tannish or brownish too, but for someone, I love the flavor and the smell of black licorice, so I think it smells heavenly. And you can also use this in teas too. As always, consult with your trusted health provider because you want to make sure that it's not having any contraindications with any herbs or medicines that you're currently taking. Now let's move on to our second digestive herb, one of my favorites, ginger. And ginger, similar to fennel, can help to alleviate gas, but also it is really great for stimulating the salivary glands. Digestion begins in the mouth, and so it stimulates saliva production and it helps you to digest your food. Now, it also contains a substance called gingerol, very similar sounding to ginger ale, and we'll talk more about that in a second. But the gingerol is really what the component that they find that assists with the digestive process. And as far as how to take it, you can either include it in your cooking, which seems pretty seamless because you're including an ingredient that makes the dish taste really great, and also it helps to digest whatever you're eating. And in many cultures, many cultures, they seem to already know this and they include it in a lot of their cooking. So African cultures, for example, Thai curries, Indian curries, I know there's many more, but that's just what's coming to mind right now. Also, you can grate it and you can include it in a tea. So lemon, honey, ginger tea, which to me is probably going to be better for you than ginger ale. They really run the gamut as far as ginger ale. So they can be less sweet, they can be more sweet. How much actual ginger is contained in there is somewhat questionable, but maybe the carbonation helps to soothe your stomach. So, kind of experiment, play around and see what works for you. Let's learn about marshmallow root. So marshmallow root, I'm going to open this so you can see it, and I'll do a close-up so you can get a better view of it too. But to me, it kind of looks like wood shavings almost, very pale and yeah, definitely very woody. Marshmallow root can be great for soothing the intestinal lining because it's very mucilaginous, kind of slimy. And I know that doesn't sound the most appealing, but sometimes the lining of our gut can become inflamed, and this is due to various reasons. It could be due to a virus, too much alcohol, some sort of food allergy that irritates it, and even stress. And so something called a demulcent, I'm not going to get too much into it, but it's called a demulcent, and that will help soothe the lining of the intestinal tract, and it will lubricate the system, and it will make it easier for stools to pass too. So for example, let's say you're in the middle of winter, you're experiencing cold, dry weather, you might want to include a demulcent such as marshmallow root into your tea blends. And it's very different looking from the processed version of marshmallow that we think of. The marshmallow flowers are really cool. They're like pale purple, pink. The root is what we are using here. And when I drink it just as a tea by itself, just marshmallow root, nothing else, it tastes very similar like corn to me. And it's very subtle, maybe ever so slightly sweet, but very soothing too. Have any of you ever tasted marshmallow root? If so, leave it in the comments what you think marshmallow root tea tastes like, because I know everyone's palate is different, so I think it'd be interesting to hear what you all think too.
Now, I have something growing in my backyard called Malva neglecta, which is also a mallow and has similar medicinal properties to that of marshmallow.
The other thing to think about when we're talking about digestion is that while these herbs can be wonderful for helping to alleviate the symptoms of indigestion, you really want to identify the underlying cause. And a main cause of indigestion is stress. So there's some sort of imbalance in your nervous system. So one tip might be maybe also exploring lifestyle changes or herbs like chamomile, for example, that help support the parasympathetic nervous system, so that by making you more relaxed, calmer, which by the way is the state ideally that you're in when you're eating. It's not like this rushed eating. You don't really digest your food very well then, but that could be something else to explore too. Well, that is all I have for today, and I will see you all again soon.